Welcome to Pit Stop with Don and James. I'm Don.
I'm James.
James, dude, you're like red, white, and blue. I feel like you are, yeah.
For
I
the
feel
IndyCar Grand Prix in DC today.
that's right, on the National Mall.
Yeah.
Cruising out there around the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument.
Yeah. I'm just trying to represent the best of everything we have right now.
Very good. So am I, because it was a good weekend for my boys in Papaya at McLaren. So I had to represent.
Yeah, man, they had a fantastic weekend. Overall, a pretty interesting race, right? It was a good one.
Yeah, we were out in the Netherlands. Last time that they're going to do this race for a long time. It was a home Grand Prix for Max Verstappen. It was a sprint weekend, and uh, all in all, it was an exciting race. There was a little bit of a threat of weather. The sprint, there was a bit of a disparity. I thought the sprint was not as exciting, but I thought the race was pretty good overall. Like, there was action, there was some passing, which is not easy at Zandvoort. So anyway, my overall impression was that the Grand Prix was significantly more exciting than the sprint. But what did you think?
Yeah, no, my sentiments are exactly the same. Sprint was kind of whatever. That's usually just kind of how sprints go. They're usually not that exciting to watch. There's no pit stops at all during a typical sprint race, and so you can't really run down your tires. So there's not a lot of people pushing extra hard. Um, that being said, the overall race was a good one. I got to say, we are back from the summer break. It is officially over, and I'm really happy we finally are back into the F1 season. Um, and what a great place to do it, Zandvoort. I am going to miss this track. I said last time that I've grown accustomed to this one, and I really appreciate it and enjoy it. And it's going to be sad to see it go next year. It's going to definitely be missed on the calendar.
Yeah, it's a historic track. It's been around for a long time, so it is kind of a bummer for it to go. They kind of, my understanding was they brought it on to cater to the Max Verstappen fans who were eager to see a home race for him in his heyday. They got it. He's won this race before, and then this was not an auspicious race for him, though. This go around.
No. You want to go ahead and put it out there what happened?
Well, so yeah, in the actual Grand Prix, Max crashed out on lap, I think it was lap 3, dipped a tire onto the inside. I couldn't tell if he got the grass or if he just got some slick paint on the painted line, and really just had a snap that then on the overcorrect, he went straight into the outside wall. And he hit it hard. It was a pretty big impact. I haven't seen the report on how many G's he impacted the wall, but luckily he was okay. And somehow everybody avoided running into him as he, shot through traffic. And pretty good driving, I would say, by first of all, Liam Lawson, who wasn't in a lot of danger of catching the collateral damage, but then Pierre Gasly had a pretty deft move to avoid hitting him, and kept going. So yeah, bummer of a day on the home Grand Prix, the final chance for a home Grand Prix for Max for a while. So yeah, that was kind of how it happened there.
Yeah, that opening lap, man. So just to go back on the weather, at the end of the sprint race, it started to drizzle.
Yep.
So had the race just been a few laps longer, they might have had to put on inters or something. For this one, it had rained previously to the race. And so, as you know, that last banked corner is still pretty wet, and the water just collects down at the bottom. Max touching the paint down at the bottom. There's never any grip on the paint to begin with, and then you add water on top of it, and makes it negligible. So, it looked like a really brutal crash. He started to oversteer, went to correct, and then just went head into the outside wall. Absolutely brutal. And then Bortoleto had a similar experience, right behind him. He spun it, but managed to keep it off the wall.
Yeah.
So
It's a nice pirouette by Gabrielle.
Yeah, very lucky. Maybe he just didn't catch the correct enough, or I don't know what he was doing with the footwork, but whatever he did, he made it work.
Yeah,
Albeit losing a few positions, kind of shunted his race a little bit, but not. It could have been worse. He could have been out.
yeah,
So
yeah. So I guess we kind of glazed over the result of the sprint, which was because you were mentioning before that the right after the sprint ended, it started to drizzle, and that really kind of saved uh, George Russell's bacon there, and so he was able to get the win on the sprint race. So a good result for George. And had it started to rain, he had kind of missed the opportunity to pit at an opportune time if they were going to have to throw on some kind of wet rain tires. But anyway, yeah. Having said that, it was just to kind of recap the sprint result. It was George P1, Charles Leclerc P2, Lando P3, and Kimi P4. So a little bit shocking to see that Kimi was off the podium for the sprint race, to be honest. Um, but a good result for Charles and for Lando for sure to pick up those podium spots in the sprint. Lando had thought that his car was slow, or said something about his car being slow early in the weekend, but he performed quite well all weekend long in the actual times that it counted. And so anyway, got on the podium for the sprint, and then ended up on pole for qualifying for the Grand Prix for Lando. But anyway, yeah. Any other things? Any other highlights from the sprint that we need to touch on?
no, nothing from the sprint. I don't think it was kind of just whatever. I can gloss over it. That's totally fine. I'm not a big fan of the sprint on its own, anyways. So I'm okay with that. But maybe just a few little things. So Cadillac, they have replaced the team principal ahead of the Dutch Grand Prix. So they have removed, I think, Graham Loudon is how you say his name. Not really
I think so.
familiar with it, but they have brought in the former Alpine executive director Marcin Budkowski. I'm going to say I'm going to mess that name up too. But uh, thoughts thoughts on this?
I mean, I didn't get a lot of opportunity to think about the job that he's done. I think we were before we started recording this was kind of I don't know, lamenting how poorly Cadillac has done, and it would be one thing, if they were at the back of the grid, which they are, but they have had a lot of DNFs. I mean, just a ton of reliability issues. Once again, in this race, Bottas had to retire, so I don't know what's going on with that. That's something they're going to want to get a handle on maybe before they advance or think about what they're going to how they're going to advance through the field as far as the positions, because you gotta get two cars finishing most of the races if you're gonna do anything. And I think what you looked up was that Bottas has only finished half the races so far this year, so that's not a great record.
No, only finishing 6 out of the 12 races is pretty bad. I all credit to him. He's had a momentous undertaking on his shoulders. I think it's a little unfortunate that they're not going to let him see out the rest of the season. So, but Marcin Budkowski. I'm going to try and get that name right at least once. He's worked with Ferrari, McLaren, the FIA, and then of course being at Renault slash Alpine. He has some good history behind him. So hopefully this will elevate Cadillac, and maybe we'll see a little, I don't know, some little miracles in the second half of the season here.
Yeah, we can hope so. I think we all had a lot of hope for them, and I think they'll throw money at it. They're a big company, and they should be able to find top talent. So I'm excited. I think I still am excited about him. I knew it was going to be a rough year. I think we all knew it was going to be a rough year, and nobody was guessing that they were going to come out and have some sort of miraculous foray into Formula One. So, uh, yeah, I think time will tell. We'll have to watch and see if we notice an improvement in something. Like I said, it seems like task number one is work on the reliability of the car. I don't, strategy and all of the other stuff that goes into um, being a team principal. I think that's going to have to be secondary to getting those cars to the end of the Grand Prix. That's what it seems like to me, and that is a job of a team principal. He's going to have to work with. They're going to have to work with the engineers. They're going to have to work with the designers and the factory and everything to make sure that whatever is going on gets corrected.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't take the Lawrence Stroll approach of just yelling at everybody all the time. So hopefully a better outcome.
Right. Well, we'll find out.
Yeah, it's still all to play for. Still half the season to go, and then maybe one more surprise. Isaac Hadjar, he fractured his wrist doing some boxing practice ahead of the Dutch Grand Prix, and we saw Liam Lawson move up and bring back my boy Yuki Tsunoda. Uh, I'm still a fan of Yuki Tsunoda. I've always liked Yuki Tsunoda. Um, hasn't really had the best luck. Maybe not the most stellar driver, but I just like him, man.
Yeah, for sure. It's he's a different kind of character, and I'm not really sure. There is a likability quality there. I think. I listen to these podcasts like F1 Nation. It's like an official F1 podcast, and like people on there always they just like Yuki Tsunoda, so he brings some element of that. I don't even know what it is. He's a little bit rebellious. He's a little bit hot headed. He's a little bit um, emotional, but he's also like this like tiny guy. So he like I don't know. There's something about like this little fireball personality in that smaller person. But he so we got out there and he had he did okay at times. He was in the points places and he had a phenomenal pass today on the Zandvoort track. So showed still some flashes of brilliance.
Yeah, man. He hasn't seemed to have lost it. Um, uh, you know, he's been out. So I wasn't really expecting him to be stellar. He qualified at the back of all four Red Bull cars. That being said, he was only off by what, like a tenth off of Lindblad in qualifying. It's not terrible, um, but ended up finishing ahead of him in the race. So that's not bad. He almost had P10 during the race. Uh, Unfortunately, Gasly made a nice move on him and quickly disappeared. Once he got by Yuki Tsunoda, it was really evident just how fast Gasly was. I think within a lap or two, he was already 4 seconds ahead. So just absolutely running away. But you're right, man. I think I was texting you, and man, he had a phenomenal pass. I think it was here. I'm gonna look it up right now. I think it was on lap 29, is what I think I said. Yeah, had a phenomenal pass on lap 29, running down. I think they call them like the dunes or something like that. Awesome to see that he still hasn't lost it. That he still kind of has that racing edge. Obviously, he wants to make a show, showing the bosses like, hey, I still got it.
Right. So yeah, that move was great. You call it the pass of the race, at least at that point. And I think you're right. It was a difficult move, right? Like some of the other passes that did happen were sort of like expected, where somebody had a clear tire advantage and waited for Tarzan or whatever, where it's kind of like the place to pass on the track. But yeah, he pulled a good move. It wasn't easy. I still think there was the move for me was Lando overtaking. Um, who did he get around? Was it like Hamilton or Russell? I can't remember now. And they were three. in a like they're all squished in together, and he
Yeah.
really just slid in. So that was later in the race after the Yuki pass. So I'd say up to that point, the Yuki's pass was the best one. I still kind of liked the one from Lando a little bit better in the end. But yeah, it was cool. I agree with you. I liked seeing Yuki out there, and we all kind of feel a little bit bad for Yuki, right? Because he got thrown into the Red Bull uh, when he got promoted to take Liam Lawson's place, and it was just a rough situation. Obviously, it wasn't going well for Liam, and then it was, everybody who'd been in that second Red Bull seat was just kind of like having a struggle. So you just kind of felt for Yuki struggling to get out of get performance out of that second Red Bull for those that season there. But so yeah, good to see him back and getting the chance to impress the bosses, like you said.
Yeah, I think what you're referring to for Norris was he overtook Kimi on lap 54, and then a few corners later he took it from Hamilton. I think that's what you're
Yeah,
referring to.
that's right.
That was a pretty good run. Two cars in one lap for Norris.
Yep.
That was pretty solid. Um, so my thought on the Hadjar sitting out, I guess Liam Lawson is the logical one to move up, but why would you not give Arvin Lindblad a chance at doing it?
I don't know. Maybe they felt like Liam's been in the Red Bull before. I mean, he hasn't been in this version of the Red Bull, but maybe they thought he was slightly more senior to Lindblad. Maybe they thought now that Christian Horner is gone, they thought he was done dirty. He was done dirty when he got demoted down to Racing Bulls, and they thought maybe this is a bit of an olive branch. I don't know. Hard to say.
Yeah, I wish I knew a little bit more on the back end. I will say, Liam Lawson, he stepped up. He had a really good showing, finishing P7 is where he finished. So he only made one move. He qualified P8. So not terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and in the vicinity of where Hadjar has typically finished.
He's right there. Yeah.
Yeah, Hadjar. I think you might have told me earlier. Hadjar's average finishing position is P6, right? So
yeah.
Lawson one place down from that, and didn't have the help of Max putting any pressure on anybody because he was out of the race. So not a bad showing for Liam.
Yeah, kudos to Liam. Good for him.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm curious if Hadjar doesn't make it back for Monza, if they'll keep the same lineup, if they'll keep Liam up, or if maybe they'll give Yuki or Lindblad a chance to step up. I can't imagine they would. I think they would keep Liam.
I think you're right. I mean, I think he did a good enough job that it would be less risky to just keep Liam in there instead of throwing it to Lindblad. That would be real interesting if they put Yuki in there. But I don't think they're going to. Mostly just because he's kind of out of the system, and Liam's in the system still as a the full-time driver. So yeah, I'm guessing if they have to, they'll put Lawson back in there. Now, having said that, they were talking on the broadcast that Hadjar was a bit disappointed to have to sit out because he wanted to try to drive even with the injury. I'm probably channeling his Lance Stroll, which I'm not sure you would want to do. Although Lance Stroll, to his credit, when he had that broken wrist from a cycling accident, had some sort of a surgery and then got out there and drove immediately and actually did pretty good. But
yeah, I don't know, man. It's F1 is just a crazy world where you can never predict how things are going to roll.
I gotta say that Laurent Mekies is probably gonna tell Isaac no more boxing.
I would imagine
keep in shape. No boxing unless it's your own shadow. May do some shadow boxing, but don't hit anything.
Something that really surprised me this race a double DNF for the Haas guys. I don't think that's anything that we've seen so far. I think this is Ocon's first DNF of the season, only DNF of the season.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is it's very rare where you see both cars have a double DNF like that. I think that's kind of the anomaly, right? You might have one car occasion, but like to have both of them go out, uh, that's a tough one to handle as a team, especially after the summer break. They've been running pretty decently.
Yeah, man, I somehow slept on the fact that Ocon has not had a DNF yet. That is sort of surprising.
And
And
he
yeah, I
still
was,
only and he only has 3 points to his name.
yeah,
Behrman's got 18 points to his name, so I'm not really sure how that balances out. I think this is the fourth DNF for Ollie Behrman.
I mean, I feel like Behrman has just really dropped off. We haven't really been seeing much from him lately, and it's a bummer because
Mm-mm.
he was showing a lot of promise. So I don't know. I mean, it leads me to believe that the Haas has taken a step back, and they're not they're just not very quick, which is a bummer. I really do. Um, so my feelings about the Haas team, I should be all in on them because they're they were the American team in there, and they're the little upstart kind of American team instead of like a big juggernaut like Cadillac we would
Right.
expect to be. But Ocon to me, I haven't. I'm not sure what to think of him. Right, like I kind of like him as a driver. He's just, at least the story that was told on Drive to Survive. Right, he's sort of a he's not your typical F1 driver as far as they didn't have a lot of money to get him into the sport. They kind of leveraged everything to try to help his parents leveraged everything to try to help him make it in the sport, and it's paid off. He's been in this sport for quite a while, a long time. And then so I kind of like that that underdog story. He also can be a bit brash and a little bit of uh, a thorn in some people's sides, I guess. But that might be from his younger days. I don't know. I don't see like a lot of drama with him in the last several years. And then Ollie Behrman, very young guy, British driver, and he had stepped in. Previously, I think he sat in on a Ferrari once or twice before
Yeah.
he signed full time as a driver, and did really well as a young reserve driver. So he's hard not to like too. So I kind of like both of these drivers, and I have some bit of a bit of a fan of the Haas team. So I really want to see him do good, and I really liked Gunther. Steiner. He's such a
Right.
personality for the sport. I wish he'd pop up again in the sport somehow, somewhere. I don't know where he might, but man, Cadillac should pick him up.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Dude, that would be disastrous, I think.
but
Oh
yeah, I
man.
don't know. So that was a kind of a rambling thoughts on Haas, but I do, it was a bummer that they both didn't make it around. And yeah, man, uh, Behrman again, like you said, what is that? What did you say? 4 DNFs so far?
This is his fourth
I
DNF
mean,
of the season.
he's it's like he and Bottas are challenging for how few races they can finish this
Yeah.
year or something.
That's
So,
a what, 4 out of 12? That's a third. A third of the races he's had a DNF. So for Behrman,
yep.
which is unfortunate. Yeah, man. They started off pretty good. I was just looking at how they started. Behrman in Australia finished seventh. China finished fifth, raking in sixth, and then 11 points because China had the sprint race. And then in Canada was the last time he got a point. He finished 10th and got 1 point for him. And then let's see. And then for Ocon, he finished 10th in Japan, and then he finished ninth in Monaco. And that's kind of been it. He's been averaging around 13th, 14th for finishing. At least he's been consistent, whereas Behrman is just fallen down, finishing 19th in Hungary. Not exactly ideal. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe it was just because early in the race, so many cars were dropping out that it was just kind of the luck of the draw getting it. But now that everybody's a little bit more reliable, they need to step it up, bring some upgrades. Absolutely unfortunate. And you're right. I do want to see them do well. I like both drivers, especially Behrman. Behrman is a very likable character.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll keep an eye on them, but they're kind of falling back. This has been kind of a wild ride for Haas, right? Like their whole F1 journey has been like, okay, they're really bad back of the grid, then they move up to like P5, P6, something like that in the constructors, and then back down, and then they popped back up, and then they're back down. So they're kind of all over the place. I'm not really sure how you smooth that out. I'm not quite sure, but it does seem like something that they'll have to work out with, their management, and they're going to have to make investment, upgrades, design, stuff like that. They're going to have to play in that area to get this to work. Because I think Behrman he's got a lot of potential as a higher level, higher tier driver. Ocon, I think he's had a lot of time in this sport, and he'll probably be one of these guys that goes down as a decent driver who spent a lot of time in the sport but never quite was a top talent. I feel like he's won a race or two on some like weird circumstances where like a bunch of cars went out of the race and he found himself. I can't remember if he's won a race. Do you remember? Zocon won a race?
I do not remember.
That one I might
Um,
have to look up because I'm quite sure
he's been on the podium. I know that.
Let me check this out.
No, he won the 2021 Hungarian Grand Prix. That's right. When he was teammates with Alonso, and Alonso was holding off Hamilton,
Yeah,
proving just how hard it is to pass at the Hungaro ring.
yeah, that sounds very familiar. That's a while ago, man, to 2021.
Yeah, so that's his first and only F1 Grand Prix win. So one win under his belt uh, due to some bizarre circumstances.
Yeah. Well, okay, so you mentioned that was he was teammates with Alonso. Okay, we got to talk about Alonso, right?
Yes,
Here.
please talk to me about Alonso.
So we talked race or two ago about how, or it must have been after the last race, how Aston seemed to be making some progress. Finally, they brought in this ton of upgrades. Adrian Newey actually talked to the press. They they seemed like they were on the ascension. The sprint race happened, and they didn't look particularly good during the sprint race. But then in the actual Grand Prix, Alonso scores some points, man, and not just P10. He was in was it P8 or P9
For
for the
for
race?
Alonso, he finished P2 in the race for Fernando Alonso, or
No, P9.
ninth, but got 2 points. I
Yeah,
apologize.
P9. So that I was like, what? It was incredible to me. Like I was watching Alonso hanging around in those low points finishing places, and I was like, okay, is this just because there's like a net pit stop issue where he's really not in this fight, But he pulled it out, got a P9, and Stroll was nowhere to be found. Stroll ended up with a
having
DNF,
a DNF,
I think.
yeah.
A reliability issue. I don't think he like crashed necessarily, but yeah, a great result anyway for Aston, who's got to be excited that they just threw some points on the board because they've just been dragging bad.
Yeah, I was texting you during the race, and at one point, like kind of in the later 20s of laps, Alonso and both Williams were in the points positions. I think Albon was just ahead of Alonso, and then Sainz was down in P10, I think is what it was. And the crazy thing is after like the pit stop cycles and the VSC, the Williams were way down, which means they got the strategy wrong. And Aston Martin absolutely just nailed their strategy today.
Yeah. Right. I mean, kudos to Aston and to Alonso, who would be who wants to be way above P9, but is
Right.
stuck in that bit of a tank of an Aston. You mentioned Williams. It was just a snake bit weekend again for Williams. I don't know what to make of these guys. They both just re-signed, right? They re-signed both drivers during the summer break. Albon for a year. How long was Sainz's re-sign for?
I think he's through 2030, if I remember correctly. I think the official term they use is just multi-year, um,
Multi-year.
which is awesome. We were kind of talking about it. Albon got the 1 year extension. I can't imagine a team is going to pick him up uh, after that. I think next year might be his last year, unless he has some crazy upward trajectory and just really dominates. So he's going to have to really step it up next year.
It would be a bit of a bummer to say goodbye to him if he can't land another seat. But let's see what he does next year. I got a lot of faith that Williams is going to figure some stuff out. It I just I don't know. There's something that a confidence from James Valls that I'm like, I think this guy's a smart guy, and I think he'll push the right buttons, but it's not working super good right now. And we should say that the in the heat of competing for like P13 and 14, the Williams decided to race each other, and they came together. I didn't get a chance to really review it myself as to like what happened. Did you see a clear indication that like Sainz was at fault or Albon was at fault in this thing, in this
I'm gonna
collision?
say, if I remember it correctly, so they're going down the front straight. Signs goes to the inside, locks up, and hits Albon. So I'm gonna say it's Signs' fault because he's locked up but still drifting over and takes out Albon's side pod, ultimately making Albon DNF on lap 66 with well, I say 4 laps to go. He would have been 2 laps down. So um, yeah, I don't. How do you do that? You just both re-sign for the team, and then you guys collide with each other. One of the dumbest things that they could do. I'm sure James Voles is going to give him a stern talking to today for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's like the one thing that you don't want to do. And I mean, for nothing, right? Like they were not going to get into those points places. It was highly unlikely that they were going to get points. And so, yeah, that was shameful. And yeah, I kind of felt like it was Sainz's fault too. Like he just carried too much in trying to like, I guess, overtake his teammate and just didn't have time to slow it down. And there was nowhere for Albon to go. He could all his only choice was to go wide. If they were going to avoid the collision, they would have had to both go off the track, which still would have looked bad. It still would have looked bad. But anyhow,
Yeah,
yeah. So
just adding insult to injury really is what it did.
yeah,
Ridiculous.
I don't know what they, I don't know what something like that does to a teammate relationship, but it seems like it couldn't necessarily. There's no way it could have been good. Albon probably is ticked off. Like, what was that? Why did you just do that? And I thought there was a couple instances throughout the race where other drivers sort of had a inter-team thing, notably Ferrari.
Yes, thank you.
We can say that we had Hamilton on some fresher tires with more pace, being held up by his teammate who was really getting he Hamilton was really ticked off. He was like, "Why are you guys not putting me past Charles? I obviously have more speed here." So and then so that was I don't even remember where that was, but that was probably like in the middle of the race, sometime around lap 40ish out of 72 laps, and then they finally pitted Charles, and that let Lewis go free. But I think maybe too late, So it was like a strategy issue. It was a little bit of bickering between what the two drivers might want, and then late in the race, there was another move that what was it? Was it Charles coming up on the back of Lewis? Uh, they were very close to each other. It looked like, and they also were very close to whoever was ahead of them. I think it was George Russell, and they had a chance to get on the podium if they would have played more of a team game and allowed somebody to challenge George, but instead they challenged each other. It led to a defensive move and a bit of a snap, and then that was it. Like there was only like one or two more laps left to go, and they didn't have the chance to threaten George anymore. So I don't know. Sometimes these type of things, you gotta think: is this going to be where now Lewis is now ticked off at Charles for trying to make a kind of unnecessary move and cost him a podium? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the other the other one, and along the same vein, is that George was kind of mad because they gave him team orders to let Antonelli go ahead of him when he was in. There was really no hope of Antonelli threatening Lando, who was like 10 or 12 seconds up the road with a late in the race. So George was kind of ticked off. Why are you letting him go ahead of me? Let him take it if he's going to take it, but why do team orders just so that he can get a couple extra points and not even threaten for the championship? So I saw a few of these little like inter team rivals. Any thoughts on any of those?
Yeah, man. I want to give my take. So, Toto Wolff is all about the long game, right? I think he already sees that, Kimi has the points. He sees that other teams are really starting to challenge, right? McLaren's starting to challenge, Ferrari's starting to challenge, and he needs to keep the lead as long as he can. So he's going to put Kimi ahead. It's not unlike when Lewis Hamilton and Bottas were racing, very famously, Bottas was continually told to move out of the way for Hamilton just to keep the lead in the points. And rightfully so. You want to win, you have to be competitive. There's a 1 and a 2 driver for that reason, right? Like it's an unfortunate side effect of the sport is the politics. And I think that's kind of what Hamilton's probably used to. But Ferrari is they're just not on the uptake, man. If they were playing the team game, they should have moved Charles out immediately instead of letting Hamilton just sit behind him lap after lap. I think he would have put up a bigger fight, against Norris and who was it, Antonelli at the time. And under the VSC, he would have been miles ahead. He probably would have been ahead of George, finishing P3. I think that's pretty realistic. Ferrari just, man, no matter what they do, if they do something, it's wrong. If they don't do something, it's wrong. They just cannot find that nice happy ground of like, okay, this is the correct decision that we're going to make. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they second guess themselves. There were instances of where they would come on the radio and David Coulthard was talking about it. They're asking Lewis all these questions, but they have the information. Hamilton said, his tires were fine, but he's going a second slower than he should be. Like, you have that data. Bring him in and like get him back out. Don't let him sit out there. Absolutely asinine what Ferrari is doing. I think they have a really competitive car this year. They have really competitive drivers. If they themselves as a team would just stop shooting themselves in the foot, they would be right up the top fighting for the championship. And Hamilton's already in he's second, right, in the championship. Well, he dropped down to third now. He's tied in points with Russell at 183.
Yep.
He could be blown by. But Ferrari's just not letting him.
Yeah, I guess we this is a bit of a highlight of like the difference in how teams are run between Mercedes and Ferrari, two top teams. They run things a lot different. I'd say I am kind of befuddled myself about
right?
Ferrari, and part of the reason why I'm befuddled is because it's like sometimes we wish they would listen to the driver more, but then if they would have listened to the driver in this instance, like where Lewis is like tires are good and he's 2 seconds a lap slower, it's like, well, we can't listen to him. He doesn't know what the deltas are. So they got to bring him in. So I don't know. It's like they're picking the wrong times to listen to the driver and the wrong times to put their foot down. But they obviously they nailed the strategy once or twice this year, and it's a thing of beauty when they do. But I don't know. I'm not 100% sure what to fix. If it's like there has to be somebody who sees things clearly that can be like, okay, I know we want to listen to Lewis, but we can't this time. He's wrong on the tires, and the tires are it's like a scientific thing. Like they're gonna give up at some
Right.
point. So I don't
And
know.
and like they need to start thinking the long game. Like, no disrespect to Charles, but he's fifth in the championship. Hamilton clearly has the advantage. He's 30 points up on his teammate. Um, they need to bring the fight to Mercedes, and you can't have Leclerc sitting in the way
Right.
of that. Like, yeah, it's going to bruise his ego, and Leclerc is going to be, sore over it. But if Ferrari want to do what's best for the team, you have to make the hard decisions and just do it.
Yeah, no, I think you nailed it. I think you nailed it, and that's true. They need to just at this point admit that this is Lewis's season, and unless Charles is going to come out and win or place pole outright and take command of a race weekend, they got to favor Lewis and just try to get as much out of him as they can. Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that, so that's a good point, James.
Yeah, we're halfway through, right? Like 12 races are done. We're not doing 24 races this year. We're only doing 23. That still might drop down to only 22 or 21, depending on how things are going in the Middle East. Time's ticking. The season is sorry, the
Yeah.
season is finite, and you got to milk it for all it's worth.
Yeah. No, I think you hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah, it's as a fan of just like Formula One, you just want to see everybody get it right all the time, and when they don't, it's frustrating. And it's very easy to sit on
Yeah.
the outside being like, "What are you doing?" We don't have all the information, but some of the stuff is just so blatantly wrong that even as an outsider, you can be like, "Okay, they are really messing up right now." And I think not letting Hamilton by was just one of those moments.
Yeah. Yep, it was. Yeah, and that one should have been pretty should have been pretty obvious. And the damage that gets done when a driver's holding back, right? The tires get messed up, and so it has long-term effects. They got to be quicker at recognizing this stuff.
Yeah. So I think maybe just a shift, a little brighter note. The one of the last things I want to bring up: Nico Hulkenberg in the points again, finishing P8. What a fantastic drive! Absolutely elated for Nico Hulkenberg.
Yeah, totally, man. It took him a while to score his first points this season, but now what do we have? You have 2 points finishes in a row, I think. Yeah,
That's correct. Yeah,
so
both
maybe
for 2 points.
I think Audi is showing themselves to be a little faster than some of those back markers. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't sure at the beginning
Yeah.
of the year, they had reliability issues and whatnot, but I think they are a little faster. Gabby's put in some points now, a couple in a row for Nico.
Yeah,
I
well,
got high
Bortoletto
hopes.
qualified in the top 10.
Yep.
If he didn't have that spin at the beginning of the race, the positions might have been swapped. He might have been the one to finish up there in the points. Um, and I think he also had didn't he also have a penalty? Am I remembering that right? Didn't he get like a drive-through or something like that?
I think you're right. Yeah, there was a few drive-through penalties. They really doled out some drive-through penalties this time.
Which drive-through penalties are brutal. Just give me
They
the
are
5
brutal.
seconds.
Yeah.
Like, it's so brutal in comparison.
Yep. It ends up equating to somewhere around like what, a 18 to 20-second penalty because you got to just slow down
Yeah.
and drive through the pit lane.
Yeah. Just give him a
But
10-second penalty, man. That like that's so much time lost.
I gotta say too, not only am I a fan of Hulkenberg and kind of a growing fan of Gabriel Bortoleto, I just like the Audi livery. I love the gray and black and red. I think it's a really cool looking car. My color scheme is like black, red, white, gray, any of that kind of combination. I think it comes from being a Portland Trailblazers fan. It's like I grew up with like
There
the
you
red,
go.
white, and black. So I do like the Haas livery too, but Audi has them beat. I like that look. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, very sharp. I like it as well. It's a pretty good one. Um, Maybe one other thing to note. My favorite thing is cars that are lapped. So we had three cars that were 2 laps down: Colapinto, Perez, and Sainz. Would have been Albon had he not had a DNF. And then Hulkenberg, P8, was a lap down all the way to 13th with his teammate Gabriel Bortoleto, also a lap down. The drivers in between were Fernando Alonso, Gasly, and then both Racing Bulls of Sonoda and Lindblad. Every race, man, like these cars are just getting lapped like crazy. The speed and time differences is just, I still am astounded with how wide it is this season.
I thought it would have tightened up a little bit by now myself, right? Like I thought that over time, as teams started to figure out the new regulations, we'd see fewer DNFs from reliability. I thought we would see the time gap shrink, and it hasn't that much. In fact, you mentioned, I think, what was it? What did you say? Hulkenberg was the first car in P8, first car that was not on the
Yeah,
lead lap,
that's
but
right.
uh, even I think that we owe a little bit of that to the fact that there was a couple VSCs that happened in this race and a red flag. So it was like I, you know, uh, I don't know, man. It just seemed like there would have probably been more cars that were lapped if we didn't bunch back up a little bit or have people reduce their speed for the VSC. So, and that was because they were picking cars off the track left and right to keep this thing moving. There was one,
Yeah,
two, three, four, five cars that didn't make it to the end. Well, six cars, I guess, because technically Albon was a DNF late in the race.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I'd say, um, I don't know, man. It's well, okay. Here's the other thing that I noticed that I wanted to bring up, and I don't know if you've noticed this too, but in the broadcast, you'll see that some cars will be reported as out, and then they'll rejoin the race and be down like, you know, 7 laps or 14
yeah,
laps. So I don't know. I don't know what's behind all that. I kind of felt like maybe it's just because they want to get data on the car, I guess is all I can come up with. But they're just doing these blue flag races where they know they're never going to, they're just going to be getting blue flagged left and right because they're just so far back. I don't know how much data you can even get, but I don't know. It just seems like this year more than what I've remembered in the past. We see a car go into the pits to like retire the car, and then all of a sudden I think they're out, and then all of a sudden I see them rejoining the race just way in the back. And the only thing I can think of is that they're trying to get some kind of data out of the car.
yeah. Just get as much as you can. You go in, fix whatever issue was there, right? And then you go out and just make sure the fix worked. That's good data. If you found a fix
Yeah,
and
that's
it
true.
seems to be working, you can bring it up to the following races. But also, you're testing tires, and you can really go through everything on your steering wheel and find the best settings and help your teammate out if he's in a position to be helped.
Yeah,
So yeah, you know, uh, you got to get as much data as you can while on track in the conditions that you're in. So yeah, it's always weird when you see it. You're out. It's got to be a weird headspace for the drivers, right? You're 10, 15 laps down, but you're still trying to be out there and like run your times while
yeah,
trying to not get caught in the upcoming faster cars. Like it's got to be weird for sure.
right. Yep, and that happened with a couple cars today. I felt like, and but anyway, yeah, it's interesting to kind of keep an eye on, I guess, and we'll keep tracking it. The DNFs and the cars on the lead lap. It seems like an interesting stat that you're all over.
Yeah, I need to go through and count like how many total DNFs there have been this season because I feel like there have been an insane number
Yeah,
this year.
it's so funny too, right? Because there's supposed to be more cars than we're used to, 22 total cars. But the number of times that all 22 cars have crossed the finish line, I don't know if
I don't
there's
think.
been any, but
Yeah,
we should check that
I'll
too.
have to go back and check.
Oh my goodness.
Um, Speaking of DNFs, we had Verstappen DNF on the first lap, and DNFing on the first lap was one of my bold predictions that I made coming into this race weekend. Coincidentally, the only one I got correct. I said a Ferrari was going to be on a podium, which I got close, and I said the Williams were going to be in the points, which, if they had those Aston Martin strategists, may have been a possibility, but they just didn't have it today.
Yeah, kind of a mediocre day for our bold predictions. It's kind of like baseball batting averages for our bold predictions. 1 out of 3 for you. I think I also got 1 out of 3, didn't I?
You sure did. You said an Aston Martin was going to be P12 or better, which Fernando Alonso crushed it, man.
My boy.
Yeah. And then you said 2 Red Bulls in the top 5, which didn't materialize. And you said George Russell ahead of Kimi, which almost
Yeah,
almost happened, but not quite.
it's been kind of interesting watching because my wife is a Kimmy fan, and so she's always cheering for Kimmy, and I more lean towards George. So like I am sitting there watching as Kimmy is battling to get ahead of George, and my wife is like, "Yay, yay!" and I'm like, "Dah." But yeah, that was the kind of go back to that incident where it was like incident's the wrong word, but the the team orders issue for Kimmy going past George, and I was like, dang it, there goes my bold prediction, all on team orders.
Yeah, and I think George previously had come on and been like, "Hey, like, are we doing team orders here? Like, are we playing the team game? Like, what's going on?" So he probably had an inkling of what was going to happen. I'm sure it's a discussion that they have, behind closed doors, anyways. Of like, hey, like, if things come down to it, like, this is how it's going to go down. Just as a heads up.
Yeah.
At least I would hope they would give them a heads up instead of just doing it on the day. That's kind of brutal.
Yeah.
But anyways, we have Monza coming up next weekend. You ready to do some bold predictions for our Monza?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So I'm going to keep the DNF on the first lap again. I really like that one. I'm going to do a Ferrari double podium. If they can get out of their own way next race, I think they have a really good shot. They're very quick. But despite that, I'm going to put McLaren finishing P1 again. So might be 3 in a row for McLaren, which means double podium. Ferrari would have to be second and third.
I hope you're right that Lando can pull another win out of the hat. I'm assuming you. I know you're just sticking to a McLaren in P1, but it seems like apart as opposed to last year, Lando is clearly the faster driver in this new car than Oscar is. So I would say if a McLaren's going to win, it's probably going to be Lando and not Oscar.
I would venture to say you are correct.
Yeah, but if Oscar was to win, I'd be happy with that too. So yeah, my bold predictions. Let's see if I can even remember. Might need you to help me remember what we jotted down. But I felt like so this one I'm going way bold, right? Okay, I'm going way bold, way bold. Kimmy's gonna have a DNF.
Yeah, very specific.
Yeah, very specific.
And a dig at your wife.
And a dig at my wife and all those Kimmy fans out there. Not that I really have any kind of beef with Kimmy necessarily. I do. Where it's like I'm torn between like, do we root for the historic youngest champion ever, or do I put on I want the older guys to win because they've put in more time and effort and years of heartbreak. So with my Kimi Antonelli getting a DNF. Really, what that is it's really a cry for. Uh, I want there to be more excitement and it not just be a runaway for Kimi Antonelli. Like I
Yeah,
want to a DNF gives the chance to close the gap up a little bit. And with
yeah.
that in mind, my second bold prediction is that George will be on the podium. Right, so George Russell on the podium, which would significantly close up that gap if both of those go right. And then my last bold prediction is a second in a row points finish for an Aston Martin. Uh, I think it's going to be Alonso, but I will just say an Aston Martin for my official bold prediction.
That's a
Um,
pretty good one, man.
I feel like they are still ascending. I was starting to doubt it early in this weekend, but with the P9 for Alonso, I think that we've seen them make some kind of a change that's going to benefit. And let's just carry it into the Temple of Speed at Monza. Let's see if they can get it.
Yeah, it really did all come down to strategy because Alonso started P18 and like
I
that
mean,
dude gained
that's a heck of
gained
a
9 places in an
that's a heck of
Aston.
a
That's
finish.
crazy.
I know. So yeah, very very cool. I'm really rooting for them. I want to see this. I want to see this happen because I was like all hope was lost, right? Like we were excited about the Aston. There was all these reasons to think that it was going to be a good year for them, and then it has been terrible. And so any little flicker of hope has been fun to get me back on the Aston train.
Yeah. So going back to your bold prediction of Kimi DNFing, you said it would close up the points, and I just did a quick calculation. So if either Russell or Hamilton were to win the race while Kimi Antonelli has a DNF, they would still be 34 points behind Kimi. So that's still a pretty decent gap. That's at least one extra DNF away.
Yeah.
So it's still sizable.
Yeah, I mean it's going to take a lot to catch Kimmy. He's done such a good job this year, and I think what we're kind of sleeping on right now is Lando Norris. He's P4,
Yeah.
and he's quite a ways back, but he's surging right now. I mean, 2 wins in a row. He's looking good.
Yeah, only 24 points behind Russell and Hamilton. That's not insignificant. And then Leclerc's only 4 points behind him. So
Right.
that race from like second to fifth is some narrow margins. I think that's where the real race is gonna be.
Lando is probably too far behind to threaten to repeat, but he may get a P2. Those guys in P2 right now, it's like you said earlier. I think tied Hamilton and Russell, which is, I mean, it's crazy to me that Hamilton's P2. Like that's actually pretty awesome that he's P2 in the championship. And I think you can kind of see, I feel in some of the radio chatter, Lewis can taste it. He can sniff it. He like being in P2, he's got a good opportunity to like eke in there and swipe an 8th championship. If he wins the 8th championship, I'm going to be like stoked. And if, it will have been nothing short of a kind of a miraculous win if he can swipe it. And I feel like he's got this. He can see it. It's like it's right there. So he'll probably be rooting for my bold prediction that Kimmy's gonna DNF because that just helps the chances. Not that he wants anything bad to happen to him. He just that's his best chance of closing the gap is a great podium or win with a Kimmy out of the race. So anyway,
yeah, Kimi DNFing is the best hope that everybody else has.
I know that's their hope right now.
It's so far away.
And I hadn't even really thought about the point you made earlier was a really good one about how they're all making these calculations about how many races are left, and we don't know if they're going to be able to go finish the season in like Abu Dhabi or whatever. Like those races are in jeopardy right now. So
Yeah. So far, Qatar is still on the map, and Abu Dhabi is still up there. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and Baku is
I
still
mean,
on there. I really hope the Baku Grand Prix does not get canceled because arguably my favorite Grand Prix of the whole
mm-hmm.
season. It is the one I absolutely love.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, man. I mean, I think Baku might be in a safe enough area, but I mean, yeah, there's a lot of turmoil out in the world, and it's unfortunate. And I mean, I hate to lament over here the loss of races when there's other things that are uh, more important than that people are dealing with. But
yeah,
yeah, anyway, yeah, it is. I think surely in the back of the minds of these drivers, like, hey, we got to get as much done as quickly as possible because we don't know which of these races might still get axed from the calendar. So
yeah.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, I think if anything were to get canceled, it's too late to move it, like the Bahrain moving to Malaysia.
yeah,
Um, and even if they could, I'm not really sure where they would go. So,
yeah.
tough one,
I'd
tough
say
one.
come back to Austin, do a race in Austin in like
A
in
doubleheader
November,
weekend.
December, and it would be so much nicer weather down there than I mean even in late October it can be still pretty hot in Austin. So
Yeah,
be real nice to go down there in November. But
agreed.
anyway,
Yeah. Well,
well,
cool,
man,
man.
think
I
we
think
hit
we
it
hit
all, huh?
everything. Yeah, we
Yeah,
did it. We absolutely did it. Not bad for being off for 4 weeks. It's nice to come back with a really good Grand Prix. Wasn't a total snooze fest.
totally.
Well, cool, man. I'm gonna hope you have a good rest of your weekend. I'm gonna say adios.
Adios.